This time on East Air Garage, we're going to try to fix an alternator that isn't charging, check out some more of the lighting issues, and hook up a fuel pressure regulator I picked up off Kijiji to see if we can get this car to run off this gas tank. When I first took the battery up, there was some smoke coming out of the alternator, and I believe that the leads where they weren't marked black and red were reversed and probably took the voltage regulator out of the alternator. So I purchased a new voltage regulator just to try. So we're going to pull off the alternator today. I've just connected the battery. I don't leave it on this thing where I don't quite know what's going to happen with it if it sits overnight, what's on and what's off, with all the wires that have been burnt and cut off and stuff. So I'm just going to pull the alternator off here and see if I can change out the voltage regulator and I can have a working alternator again. So the first, it's a half airplane going by. It's a 1/2 inch bolt on the top here. Adjuster bolt. Let this loosen off and off the car. Looks like rain might be coming today. See some black clouds overhead. Cooled off overnight. It went from summer to fall just in one night. So back to wearing sweatpants and sweaters again in the evenings. We were out last night sitting out and it got pretty cool. We had to get a blanket out to sit outside, but it's nice to be out. Okay, there's the one bolt. I can take the belt off the alternator now. Washers and the bolts. Got it loosened off enough. And there's the alternator out. So we'll take this in the garage and pull it apart and get a new voltage regulator in there. Alright, we'll put the alternator in the vise and pull out the 4 bolts in the case, and we're supposed to mark those to make sure the orientation stays the same when you mark them. So I'm just gonna make sure. So it's a 5/16 that holds the 4 bolts on. Let's see if we can get this bottom piece to separate from the top. Lightly prying in between there. It's coming out pretty easy. There we go. So it's a little worn in there. Oh, you can see the inside of that. So that's the piece I'm going to be changing there, the voltage regulator. Alright, just 3 bolts that hold the regulator in. Let's see if I can get those undone. Alright, we've got the 3 bolts out. There's our brushes. They look pretty decent shape. And here's our voltage regulator. Oh yeah, the smoke got let out of that for sure. We got a new one in the other day. Check it out, make sure it's the same. Yeah, it's the same size. We'll pop that in and get this thing back together. Loaded the brushes back up into their housing, and you just put a little pin in to retain the spring, and you pull the pin out when you get it back into place, because if not, you'll never get the brushes back on. So there's the new voltage regulator installed. I got my pin in to release it. When I put it back together, I'll just pull the pin to let the brushes sit back where they're supposed to be. My pin stuck out the back for the brushes, so I'll put this back on and line up my marks. And I'll put a little bit of grease on the top as well. So let's find my mark, and we'll get these two sitting right where they come off. They're all torqued to spec by my wrist. So now I should be able to pull the pin and the brushes will go back in place. So we'll reinstall the alternator back on the car and see if it'll charge now. So I bought a fuel pressure regulator so I can try to see if that fuel pump in the tank actually works, and we can get this thing running. So I got this off of Kijiji for a good deal. Comes with the fuel pressure regulator up to 15 psi. Couple of AN fittings. Those fittings won't work. I'm just gonna temporarily hook this up. So I got some AN barb fittings. 2 3/8 for the in and the out, and 1/4 inch for the return. So we'll just quickly put this together. We're going to take this bolt out that's blanking off the hole for the pressure regulator gauge. So we should put a little bit of Teflon tape on that to make sure the threads seal. Going over tighten that, you might split this aluminum housing, so just snug it in just a bit. So we'll get our NPT fittings, and I think they're 5/8. Same thing with these, you don't want to over torque these either. If they seal themselves, you don't have to put any sealant on them. The taper at the bottom of the fitting makes the seal, so if they leak or something wrong, make sure you don't scratch anything. There's no dirt in the ports. Scratch it like that. Well, I'm just going to put them in first, and then I'll tighten them up. And the return on the bottom, this 1/4 inch tubing. See, I'll do these in proper lines when I get everything back together and run it. This is just to see if that pump and gas tank will actually work. So I'll just snug these up just very gently, because they're aluminum and they can bust. So should have aluminum wrenches, but I don't have any of that fancy stuff. Alright, so that's all assembled. So to adjust it, you loosen this lock nut, and I don't know what they come factory set at, and then you just turn this in and out to adjust your pressure to whatever you want it to be. So I'm going to go mount this on the side of the car and hook up the lines. Okay, got the fuel pressure regulator installed. Just turn it ahead first. Alright, we got the 3 pounds of fuel pressure. Okay, start it up. You gotta run it off the gas tank down. Hold the fuel pressure. We got the fuel pump on and it's pushed up. So the way you adjust this, sorry about this unsteady camera, so you let it out, fuel pressure drops, you screw it in. They recommend around 5 pounds. I think I got a low pressure fuel pump in line on this. I'm getting between 3 and 4 when it's running. So that's it, you just set it to whatever your carb needs. This one is about 5. I added 3 liters of transmission fluid, it was fairly low. So I'm going to try and start this up, and maybe it'll move with that extra transmission fluid in it. Okay, I'm going to put some old Marvel mystery oil down in here. Since it has been running for a while, won't hurt to help lube everything up. Some in there. I'll put some in the gas tank. Run some through the fuel system. It helped that fuel pump a little bit. So we're going to do a little more wiring troubleshooting. So I've replaced all the fuses that were burned, which was all. I'm going to check the brake light. Put a stick on the brake here. Oh, I see the door light. I took the dash off. I safened up a bunch more wires that were broken off and disconnected. And that light comes on with my door switch. Let's see if we got brake lights. Yeah, we have brake lights. Cool. So I took the dash off because there was this aftermarket stereo, lots of other things added to this, so I'm going to have a quick look here. 2 flasher relays here. We don't have any signal lights still, but we have hazards. I checked all the gauges. Some of the lights were broken off. There was broken wires, so I just taped everything up for now and marked what I could. The wires for the windshield wiper, just tagged them. So here's the flasher for the signal lights. It's pretty corroded up. Anyway, I bought another one at the local parts store, so let's put that in and see if we got signal lights. Try to do the old YouTube one hand. Just get the keys in. Oh, we got some dash lights coming on. Alright. Oh, I hear it clicking. We got our signal light there. Got our marker signal light. Alright, try the other side. Yep. Looks like we got our signal lights, hazard lights, headlights. Everything working except just... I just replaced another fuse I'd found burnt out. It was for the tail lights actually, so I just put a new 20 amp fuse in. We'll turn on the lights. Hey, we got tail lights now. Right on. Okay, so I wish we could get the reverse lights to work. Alright, let's see if I can get the reverse lights to... Everything else is working, so... No, not seeing anything there. I did put gas in this. I only put a little bit in. But before I did, you couldn't see down in it, but when I was rocking it back and forth, it looked really thick. Not like bad gas, and it didn't really smell. What I think happened, somebody put oil in here to keep the gas tank, the bottom of it, from rotting. So when I was running it before by just filling up the carb, there was no smoke. Now this thing makes a lot of smoke, but I think what it is oil. So I put about 2 gallons of gas, and the fuel pump does work. The pressure regulator, I was able to adjust it up to 5 psi, which is recommended. Next, once I get some more gas, I ran out of gas trying to bring it up to temperature. But the only gauge that works is the oil pressure, which is good. But I crossed over the clock, the voltmeter, the clock, something else. I hooked them up 12 volt direct to the battery just to see. What else do we have here? The thing, it's busted here too. Gas gauge, yeah, the water temp. I traced it out to the water temp sensor. Just, there's nothing here, so. Anyway, yeah, so the clock, the battery, nothing. I think all the gauges, whatever shorted out in this car that took everything out, I think it also took out the, it burned up the gauges too, because I got power going to all of them. So I might have to get a whole new gauge cluster for this thing, but that's in the future. But right now I figured some stuff out. A couple of holes up in here. Like I said, as I strip this out, I'll patch everything and fix it up properly. So next we'll be checking out the transmission. That's going to do it this time on Easter End Garage. Thanks for watching. Please comment below if you see anything that you liked or anything you'd like to see a little more on this Corvette. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Remember, drive them while you can till you can't. Cheers. Thanks for watching.